Flight Control.
Phoenix Approach, good evening, American 1479, Roger.
1479, Beach Approach, back 25 left.
25 left.
The recent spate of plane crashes has really put me on edge, as I'm sure it has many of you. The crash between the airplane and the helicopter over the Potomac, the medevac flight that went down in Philadelphia, and the upside-down landing in Toronto, among others, were alarming to everyone. There have been 140 crash incidents so far this year, and each day we watch the news expecting more. It got me thinking about famous crashes of the past. One that hit pretty close to home for me as a New Yorker was the Miracle on the Hudson. I went back and revisited the transcript of the cockpit audio. This was a crash with a positive enough outcome and no fatalities when Captain Sullenberger landed his plane on the Hudson River after a bird strike took out his engines.
Cactus 1539, hit birds, so you lost thrust on both engines, returning back towards LaGuardia.
Okay, you need to return to LaGuardia. Turn left heading up 220.
220.
Tower, stop your departures, got emergency returning. It's 1529. He bird strike. He lost all engine. He lost the thrust in the engines. He's returning immediately.
Cactus 1529. Which engines?
He lost thrust in both engines. He said.
Got it.
Cactus 1529. If we can get it for you, do you want to try to land runway 13?
We're unable. We may end up in the Hudson.
All right, Cactus 1549. It's going to be left traffic to runway 31.
Unable.
When I was reading over the transcript, what was interesting was that before the bird strike even occurred, I counted 8 miscommunications between the pilot and the tower, issues with Sully's mic not working, and getting conflicting directions from ground control. Then when it came down to the final Mayday, they didn't take him seriously when he said he was landing on the Hudson and continued to suggest runways at Teterboro Airport. I personally have spent a lot of time in the air. My mom was a pilot and often took me out flying with her. See my episode entitled Me Too Mom for the full story. And we definitely had some close calls. Back in the day, they didn't have markers on power lines. You know, those big orange balls you see strung out on overhead wires by the highway near airports. When I was very young, my mom and I were flying in her Piper Cub, and as we were coming in to land at a small grass runway airport, we hit the power line, snapping off the rear wheel and part of the tail fin. She was able to make a rocky landing, and we were lucky that the plane didn't flip over without all of its landing wheels. We waited by the wreck for a few hours until my very unhappy father came to bring us home. Even on commercial flights, I've experienced some hair-raising situations. The island of St. Thomas in the Caribbean has a notoriously difficult runway. It's short, starts on a jetty in the ocean, and ends abruptly at the foot of a mountain. One year when I was flying into the island on a commercial flight, as we began our approach to the runway, we could see smoke coming from below. Our flight pulled up and circled as I looked out the window along with the rest of the passengers to see a smoldering wreck at the base of the mountain. The plane before us came in too high and crashed. Somehow, no one in the tower had alerted our flight crew in time. We were eventually diverted to another island to land. A lot of problems with air traffic today is the current U.S. air traffic controller shortage, which began with Ronald Reagan. After he broke the union strike by firing all 13,000 controllers, the country never really recovered. The flight controller's job is difficult. They're under immense pressure, working long hours, and have to stay sharp the whole time in order to prevent mistakes and possible plane crashes. There's a mandatory retirement age of 56. Many don't last that long in their career, citing the high stress, long hours, and pay that is not enough to make it worthwhile. Further down the line, many left the career or were forced out during the COVID lockdown, when air traffic came to a complete standstill, and it's been difficult to find replacements. Some type of major reform or reorganization is needed if we want to feel safe in the skies again. I want to end on an interesting note. We find ourselves glued to the news and more attuned to the failures of aviation these days, and it can make things look worse than they are. In 2024, there were a total of 34.6 million flights and 258 fatal crashes. Taking a commercial flight is far safer than driving a car. There are still major issues with the FAA, communication, and understaffing of the air traffic controllers that we need to resolve fast, but we don't have to panic. At least not yet. Copyright 2025 by Gregg LeFevre. All rights reserved. If you enjoyed this week's episode, let us know. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Compulsive Storyteller, and we'd love to hear from you. This podcast is independently produced, so we really appreciate all your help and support. Share the show with your friends, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and please leave a review. You can also check out our website, thecompulsivestoryteller.com, for more information. Thanks for listening, and if you didn't like this one, the next one will be another story. The Compulsive Storyteller is now co-produced by Gregg LeFevre and Fadia Montserrat, who's also arranged the music and created the special effects. Emily Ramon does design, research, editing, and marketing. Peter Kokoma has made our theme music and for many seasons co-produced the show with me. All characters and events portrayed in this podcast are based on my truth, with some names and facts changed for privacy. The conversations and dialogues are based on my best memory, but are not word-for-word recreations.